Hi, I'm Gina, co-founder of Costume Alchemy, and you rented one of our sewing machines. Today, let's talk about the Consew T1919, which is our portable walking foot machine. We're just going to go over a few things that you need to know to get ready to start sewing. This machine comes in a road case, so you're just going to want to undo the clips on either side, and then take the lid off going straight up until you're clear. And there it is. Everything you need comes in the case, so you can just start unpacking everything. This is your thread stand base. You can put the foam on it. And then this is your thread guide, which just goes in this hole at the back. And then this can just live kind of behind the right-hand side of the machine. You'll also find your accessories case tucked in here. And inside is your needles. It'll come with a size 18 and the needle type is DP17. A screwdriver so you can change the needle, a small oiler, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and 3 bobbins. Lastly, in here is your power cord and presser foot. And this just plugs in at the back of the motor here. Now we're going to insert our size 18 needle to go with our size Tech 69 thread. And so I always start by turning the hand wheel towards me to raise the needle up to its highest point. And then I like to lower the foot. And then we unscrew this screw on the inside here. Not all the way, just loosen it. And then I can take out my needle that is in there. So when we put our new needle in, you always want to make sure the scarf, which is the small deep indent there, is facing towards the right. And then the long groove in the front of the needle is facing towards the left. And that's how it's going to go in the machine. We just slide it up through the center. Make sure it's fully seated all the way up, making sure our scarf is pointed to the right. And then we tighten the screw. Now we are ready to wind a bobbin. So in order to access the bobbin, I find it easiest to just tilt the machine back in its case. And then you can see the bobbin is here. So if you lift this tab up and pull that out. And now we're ready to load the bobbin. So we start by taking the bobbin out of the bobbin case and putting it on the bobbin spool winder. The way that I'm about to show you how to thread this bobbin is different from the manual that you'll find online. It's also different from some of the videos you will see. This is the way that we have found we get the most even wind on this machine. Because of this handle being in like the path of where you would normally wind the bobbin, we've done a lot of troubleshooting, and this is what we find works the best. So you start by taking your thread, going through the first thread guide from right to left. Then you go through both holes on this thread guide, starting from top to bottom. Then we go through the bobbin tension from back to front. Then we go through this curly Q by going under and then around. Then we're going to go in front of this thread guide. And then I like to put about 3 inches or so through one of the holes of the bobbin. And now we're ready to wind the bobbin. So in order to engage the bobbin winder, you just push the spool from here towards the stopper. And then press your foot pedal. I like to snip this after it's going and then finish off. So as the bobbin gets full, it just applies the brake and it just slowly stops spinning. It doesn't pop back or anything. So now it has stopped. So now I'm popping this back and then I just snip it. and take it off. And now the bobbin is loaded, so now we're going to put it into our bobbin case. So when we put it in the case, we want the tail coming off to the right. And we're going to put it in. Then we're going to take our tail and we're going to slide through the first notch. And then we're going to keep coming, slide around this one. And then the tail is going to come over like this. This is how we're going to put it in the machine. Like so. And to make sure that the bobbin doesn't fall out, if you lift this lever, that will keep the bobbin locked in place so it won't fall out. I'm going to tilt the machine back gently. And then I just put this in. Now I want to make sure that upper arm is finding its notch right there. That arm needs to be in that notch in order to function properly. And then just make sure the thread's not caught. It's hanging down. And then lower the machine. Now we are ready to thread our Consew T1919. Always start by turning the hand wheel towards you, always towards you, until the thread take-up lever is at the top, and that'll release the tension. Also make sure your foot is up. So you want that up. And then we start threading. So we're going to go through our first thread guide from right to left. Then we're going to go through both of the holes on this thread guide from top to bottom. We're going to come here. We're not going through the bobbin tension. We're just going through the curlicue. So we go over and around. Now for my Tech 69 thread, I find it's good to go through 2 of these holes, but depending on your thread weight and your material, if you need more or less tension, you might go through 1 or through 3. But however many you use, you're always going to go from top to bottom. And then again from top to bottom. Then we're going to come around this tension disc. So you got to make sure you're getting in between the 2 discs and then coming up and catching that hook, coming around that hook, and then making sure that spring is still free. So you can see that spring go up and down, and you can see that your thread is on the inside of this hook. Okay. Then we're going to come up, we're going to go through the take-up lever from right to left. Then we're coming down. We're going to go through the hole at the top of the needle. Here I put the foot down so I can see the eye of the needle better. And then I thread from left to right. Now we are pulling up the bobbin thread. So we hold this thread near the back of the machine, hold it with my left hand, I raise my foot, and then I move the hand wheel towards me, let that needle go down, and it's going to grab the bobbin thread, and I'm going to give it a little tug, and then you can see both come up there. So now I have my bobbin thread and my needle thread are now both under my foot. I pull them both through, and there we have them. We are ready to sew. So I'm going to sew 2 layers of this 4-ounce veg tan leather together. So that's going to be about 8 ounces. And so we just put it under our foot. Lower our foot. Now whenever we start sewing on this one, we want to make sure we are holding both of our threads at the back to make sure they don't get sucked back under the machine and cause a rat's nest on the back of the project. And with that, we just press the foot pedal and sew. Then when we get to the end of our seam, we want to turn the hand wheel towards us until the take-up lever is at the top. And then we raise our foot and we can remove our project. So for this one, It was 8 ounces of veg tan leather. Our tension was set to 5, and we went through 2 holes. Let's talk about stitch length. So for a lot of leather work, you're going to want to use this largest stitch length. So on the guide, where you adjust, it's at the very top here. That's your biggest stitch length. In order to adjust it, you're going to loosen this nut, and then you can bring it down. And then the farther you bring it down, the smaller your stitch length is going to be until you get right here. And that's where we switch into reverse. So we're getting smaller and smaller, and then once we're here, we're switching into reverse. And then our reverse stitches are starting at the smallest and going to the biggest. We're going to try to do kind of 3/4 length stitch, and I'll show you how to go into reverse and then back to forward. So as usual, project under our foot, lower the foot, hold the 2 threads at the back so it doesn't get caught. And then we're going to go forward for just a couple stitches. And then we're going to loosen our screw. And I see we're at the 5th forward size. So I'm going to go down and bring this into reverse to match that. And tighten it. And then when I go in reverse, it should be a similar stitch length. And then to go forward again, I need to loosen this again, go back up to our original forward stitch length, tighten it, and then I can sew. So this is what we got when we were doing forward. We reversed and then continued on forward. And this is at stitch length